In 2015, the Community Rail Partnership on the Cumbrian coast began a new project that, although we didn't know it then, was destined to change many lives. Focusing on integrating rail into the structured programmes of rehabilitation for people affected by alcohol and substance abuse, the project took on a life of its own and soon became known as the Rail Journey to Recovery. We've learned so much since those early days about how addiction so often leads to complete isolation, about how addiction deeply impacts on the things you and I take for granted, things like self-worth, confidence, normal family relationships, the ability to communicate and laugh. Anyone can be affected by addiction, regardless of social standing. Rail helps in so many unexpected ways, and the best way to learn how is to listen to the words of the residents at Stanfield House in Workington who are undergoing the difficult journey called rehabilitation. These are their stories.
My life was bleak and dark, and I was just playing computer games and drinking and living on the internet, being away from the world, hiding away from the world because I didn't want to fit. I couldn't fit in with it. I just wanted to hide away and wait for death, really. If I had some drink, it would have been a good day, but if I didn't have any drink, I would be getting withdrawals. So I had to just deal with the withdrawals, the shakes and pains.
My average day would be absolutely perfect. I'd be normal, I'd be fully functioning, I'd be going to work, fulfilling my duties, and then I'd crash. I was drinking very high volumes. I was drinking near enough 2 to 3 litre bottles of vodka a day. Now looking at it in hindsight and looking at the outset of it, looking back at it, it's quite detrimental to health. I always isolated myself during that month. I'd always lock myself away. I'd never let anyone see me, family, friends. Socially, I wasn't to be seen. It destroyed everything, basically. Nobody wanted to speak to me, nobody wanted to know. Everyone had given up, and we've tried to help you as much as we can, but the only person that can help you is yourself.
Before I came to Stanfield, it was chaotic, just life full of drugs. Never know which way to turn next. Just looking for the next bit of money what I could find. I left my daughter when she was about 4. I've had a lot of guilt through that, and because of that guilt I've used more drugs. I felt like I never got any support from family, which made the situation worse. I had mental health problems through drugs, which brought out schizophrenia in me, and that has probably been the biggest thing that I would say I need mending.
Every part of the railway initiative benefits our residents in so many different ways, from raising the confidence using public transport. It can deal with anxiety issues, self-worth, looking at the area, knowing that they can either relocate here, going on trips during the weekends by themselves is a huge step for our residents.
I love nature, so the idea of going out on a train ride, going through the coast on one side and the mountains on the other, seeing that just to get there, that 1.25 hour journey was fantastic. I was so excited. And then when we got there, it was fresh air and it was a bit of gardening, a little bit of painting and just everybody mucking in together, and I went for a little walk out onto the salt marsh.
I went along to the Rail Initiative a couple of weeks ago, and one of the big draws for me was just getting on the train and looking out the window initially, just because I haven't seen scenery like that in years, maybe ever actually. So that just puts you in a good state of mind, and I think that's what everybody strives for in life, is just happiness. And if I can be content and have a good career, that's enough for me.
My initial thoughts about the railway and rehab, they were actually quite exciting. I love manual work, I love manual labour, and especially if it's doing something voluntarily, getting that element of satisfaction and peace in the mind that I'm doing something, and it's quite, what can you say, emancipating.
The benefits we see from the adoption of the Green Road station is we get to see our residents in a different light. It's not in the setting of rehab, in groups, in one-to-ones, so we get to see a different side of them. So there's a lot of laughing, there's a lot of joking, but there's also a lot of support for each other. The older residents support the newer residents. There's a real camaraderie, and it gives them a sense of achievement because they're helping people who are just coming in. It's a real different view of how we get to see our residents on a day-to-day basis. In a group setting, in a key work setting, they laugh, they joke, it's a much more relaxed atmosphere. It really is a wonderful thing to see.
Looking outside the train made me feel free, relaxed, and not in the chaos that you used to be in. It's very relaxing. It's a totally different environment. It's just peaceful in Green Road. There's not the madness what goes about in town where I come from. My mental health and anxiety has improved a lot while I've been going to Green Road. It makes me feel stronger as a person.
When I'm on the train to Green Road, I feel exciting. I'm looking forward to get to Green Road because everyone has a set task that they were doing the previously week before, and I'm one of those that do like to finish something off that I've started. So let's say, for example, when I get to Green Road, I know that I'm going into the shed, I'm getting the paint, I'm getting the sanding paper, and I'm painting that Green Road sign fresh, so it looks great. I wouldn't make any changes to the Green Road initiative because clearly it is actually working, it's working well. Everyone seems to chip in, there's no slackers. Everyone knows that it's there for beneficial, not only to us, but beneficial to passers-by of the Green Road. We always get complimented, we always get looked at in a good light, and that's a very, very positive thing when you're out there in the open and you've got people, passers-by, who are very intrigued. What are you doing? How come you're doing it? It makes me feel great, it makes me feel rewarding. That's how it makes me feel at the end of it. It's like they're rewarding you and they're very, interested in why you're doing it and what you're doing. And they feel great. At the end of the day, they'll always say, well, it looks really, really good. It's nice and clean, and, they give you appraisal for it. The camaraderie while we're at Green Road is absolutely amazing because in some way we look at it as in soldiers. That's the way me and the rest of my comrades look at it. We're in soldiers. One's a general, one's a captain, one's a lieutenant. So we do have a good, as well as, getting down there and doing your duties, as you call it, doing your duties, we have a good, okay, lieutenant, okay, sir, okay, general. And we carry that on here. So when we get back to Stanfield House, okay, it's very professional, but at the end of the day, we maintain that bond when we get back here after. We know that we've just all spent a good few hours down there, out in the open, and when we come back, we'll have a talk about it, we'll reflect upon it, and at the end of the day, everyone leaves happy.
My family and friends are very proud of me at the moment for taking this big plunge to come into rehab. They thought I'd never do it. They all said he won't do it because he'd be too scared, which I was initially, but thanks to a lot of people and encouragement and advice, I've taken that plunge, and I'm very glad, and I think they're going to be rather proud of me.
What kind of a life is it for a 29-year-old to keep getting these great opportunities given to me on a plate, and I'm just throwing them away? I'm quite an ambitious person, and I think people should realise that addiction doesn't have anyone can become addicted to a substance. It doesn't matter how much money you earn, it doesn't matter what background you're from, anyone can be sucked into it.
I feel that I can live on my own now and be more independent, and I can see a future now in Preston and see my dog and my family and try and get a job maybe.
The future's going to be good, I hope. When my daughter come,
the weekend with my grandchild. I was very nervous, but on the other hand I was excited. It was very good, I enjoyed that, I did. Do have a lot of appreciation and thankfulness for Turning Point and Stanfield House for what they've done for me, for giving me this chance. I'd like to say a big thank you to them.
The future is very bright for me. I'm one of them people where believing is achieving. So I believe that they've got a bright future ahead of me. No matter what the dark past has, it's got nothing to do with the present or the future. I'm going to leave that in the past. I'm not going to think about it. I'll maybe reflect upon it. That's a different thing altogether. So I'll reflect upon it and I'll learn from the past as you do. And that's where you get wiser and wiser every day.
From being very, very young, 15, 16, I've been in and out of jail, involved in selling of drugs. I enjoy being stood in the rain, I enjoy listening to the birds. I remember being stood on the top of a hill, and for a split second my mind took me back to when I was locked up, thinking, oh, I'd love to be stood on a hill, and it hit me. And it was quite an emotional moment really, because I actually stood there thinking, I'm here, I'm free, I'm clean of drugs, I'm building bridges again with my family, friends, everything was going good, and to be stood there on a hill in the fresh air, in the sun, when you'd wish for it, it's quite an emotional moment really.
When the idea of the Railway Initiative was first brought forward, we looked and thought, how do we fit this in to the rehab structure? To look now, it would be, how would we work without this? Because it brings so much to the residents, the staff, the whole process of from getting on the train to seeing what we've achieved down there. It is an integral part of our rehab process, and I really don't know what we'd do without it now.
At a railway station, got a ticket for destination. On a tour of one night stands, my suitcase and guitar in hand. Every step was neatly planned for a poet and a one-man band. Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound. Home, while my thoughts escaping. Home, while the music's playing. Home, while my love lies waiting silently for me. And every day's an endless stream of cigarettes and magazines. And each town looks the same to me, the movies and the factories. Every stranger's face I see reminds me that I long to be homeward bound. I wish I was homeward bound. Home, while my thoughts escaping. Home, while my music's playing. Home, while my love lies waiting silently for me.
Wow.